Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Like I required of you. I had a pretty good one. Nothing really too bad happened this weekend. I don't think anything bad happened at all, actually. So let's break right into it. I think I was currently writing my father a little bit of information about how much of an asshole he was. So, hey, I want everybody to know how much of an asshole he was. But in this particular one, from reading the first couple lines, like I said, I'm always trying to kind of be adultish. Of course, my father's dead, so I'm not saying this to anybody. But the world's a better place for it. When I read it, I thought, it's coming off like that kid again. I'm 48. Kind of not coming off like a kid, but, it's trying to prove. That's when you look between the lines here and you see that it's just like maybe I'm constantly trying to prove something to this man. We all have a bad day and fly off the handle. Life can be difficult. I think that's understood by all parties and human beings in general. The first time I was taught to tie my shoes, how to read a tape measure, and of course, who could forget when I was taught to hunt, which was one of the things, the only thing that my father ever really wanted to do with his life was hunt. But when I went through this initially, just a second ago, I kind of skimmed through it. I was like, it looks like I'm talking to his face. And of course, who could forget when I was taught to hunt? Well, you know what? I'm just going to take out. And of course, who could forget? Because that's a little bit sarcastic in nature. Like if you're talking to someone, well, who could forget? No, it's like I am stating something. So the first time I was taught to tie my shoes, how to read a tape measure, and when I was taught to hunt. And then maybe give a little bit more information about, to the reader about, what this hunting thing is, because this is the first time that I brought it up. The hunting was the one thing my father excelled at, and it took up most of his time. Now, I'd like to get in there and say, man, he didn't pay attention to his kids because he was hunting all the time. But I've said that a million times, and it's implied. I would hope. Turns out implication is not that easy. Hunting was the one thing my father excelled at, and it took up most of his time. It's very general. I'll probably go add some more to that in the future, maybe. I know this because my son often requires sensitivity, and it's not a big deal for me to lovingly teach him proper lessons in life. I'm happy to do it simply because it's my responsibility as a father. There was a time in my life when I used too many semicolons, so we're going to take out a bunch of semicolons. I'm happy to do it simply because it's my responsibility as a father. It's hard sometimes, but the way I see it, I do not have a choice. The way that you both have treated me in the past with sensitive issues will determine that you will scoff and snicker at these statements. And that's unfortunate for you, but I've been a father for going on 16 years, and I'm positive I know how it is. So this is another proving thing, It's like, hey, I'm going to bitch you out. So the way you both treat me with past sensitive issues will determine that you will scoff and snicker. So I'll just put scoff, not drive it home that second time. Scoff at these statements. Let's go with the statements. I'm going to actually put a period here and take out an and. That, I think I will maybe still say that. That is unfortunate for you. That is unfortunate for you. I guess that's just a statement, so we're going to period that. I have been a father for going on 16 years, and I'm positive I know how it is. It's another kind of one of those. I've been a father for going on 16 years. I can be honest with you. Just going to take out that right there. I've been a father for going on 16 years. Short and sweet and simple. Although I do not remember any of the mentally abusive behavior from my mother as a child, communication was not a strong suit in our family, and nothing was ever done to alleviate any of these issues. My mother was there when my father was not, and I do appreciate that. It never got sketchy with my mother until later in life, really over the last 7 or 8 years. We got to think we're talking in the past year. And I have no idea why. I do have ideas why now, but we will get into those a little bit later. We're just going to kind of get in the meat. I got to get you guys up to speed with what I'm dealing with here. 7 or 8 years, I have no idea why. I turned from a good son, I do not believe, into someone I do not believe she trusted. It seemed like it turned out that way after I went to rehab, which I went to rehab, outpatient rehab, for taking pills a long time ago. I've always pretty much been, drug addict. I don't know. It's interesting, but it's definitely a part of my past. That was one time in my life when I really thought my family would be there for me, but instead of, like supporting me with that, they just kind of like, they didn't make fun of me, but they really super ignored it. They never addressed it, never looked at it as a problem, like if you were to break your arm or something like that. It's not like that. I don't even really know if they care if I broke my arm. I kind of forget. Those are kind of taken aback because I forgot I went to rehab for a while. But it was like meetings, and it really helped. It seemed like it turned out that way after I went to rehab, and I consequently felt like this terrible drug addict. You did not mention it once or try to help me with addictions or therapy in any way. It was totally ignored and minimized, even insinuated that I was a weak person. I'll change a little semicolon while I can here. Even insinuated that I was a weak person. I thank you both especially for that one. I appreciate the support. It gives you both a permanent place in my mind as contributors to my problem, not part of the solution. Boy, I use a lot of semicolons there. Not part of the solution. Considering the fact that I had to escape with drugs and alcohol to deal with lack of communication and emotional support that I was not given by you, thanks for making it that way and ditching me when I needed the most. Being made to feel like a failure from the time I could think caused me never to grow up emotionally. I used drugs and alcohol to fill the void. This is something that I learned through studying psychology, that it's pretty obvious when it comes to addictions and such. Now, for anybody that happens to be addicted to anything, which, we all have a tendency to be addicted to something, whether it be food or drink or drugs or alcohol or money or houses or computers or cups of tea or I don't know. It's a human trait, people. And when it comes to addiction, you all have to admit that you have some type of an addiction, and just because it's not a mind-altering substance doesn't make it really, any better or worse. I've seen things like money corrupt people, so you don't have to look any further than that. The duality between my mother and father were very interesting because they both, like I said, were mentally ill, but where my father lacked, my mother always made up for, and I said for a really long time that I don't blame my mother, and that was really just a guilt thing. My father did the things very outright, more abusive, but my mother was very manipulative of me and my sister. Like she did not love us in the traditional sense. We were tools to be used for whatever end she had, and that end actually probably ended up being a little more her being happy in a marriage, because I spoke about emotional incest and her not being able to go to her husband to have certain things happen. I still have no idea really why they hated my sister so much. My sister's 7 years older than me, and they've just hated her from day one. I do not. We think that there might be something else going on behind the scenes there, but really we have no idea why. I think it might just a really deep Freudian hatred that my father ended up having and that my mother had for my sister that was put onto me. I did everything right, Melissa did everything wrong. So there we go for that little tidbit, and stay tuned for more. Have a peachy day.